Okay, it's often said, working with real estate, there are three things to take into account. Location, location, location. Working with videography, whether YouTube or other settings, there are three things you should deal with right up front. Lighting, lighting, and lighting. That's what I'm going to talk to you about today. It's not that I've mastered this, but I have some basic knowledge, and I'm in my learning curve on the practical application, and maybe my journey can help you too. I'm Dave, GeezerGeek, as you see up there, and my channel is all about things that you can do with tech. Thank you for your interest in my videos. Today I'm going to be sharing some things on lighting and how it can affect your use of a green screen with OBS. I'm working with Ubuntu, a Linux operating system, but that really doesn't matter. These basics will apply regardless of your operating system. So let's get started. The first lighting consideration is the basics. We want to talk about sources, intensity, and color. All three are important. For sources, unless you're doing videography in a photographer's darkroom or deep in a cavern, you will have more light than just what you've set up for your studio recording area. Even if you have a curtain or blind, some light will be filtering in from outside if there's a window in the room. Years ago, while in college, I liked to do film photography with existing lighting. Usually daylight, or if night, it was regular incandescent lighting, or time-lapse. I tried to use the available light. Time of day affected the quality of light and the harshness experienced. At night, the incandescent light gave what I called a warm color shift. You need to know what your existing light sources are, as even if only subtly, they will affect your image. Of course, you also have your intentional lighting. Maybe it's simply the overhead lighting in the room, or a table lamp, or floor lighting, whatever. Maybe you have some kind of softbox that you've set up. Know what your light sources are and how they are impacting your subject. Know your sources. Next, we need to take into account brightness. When I was a kid, everything was incandescent, and the wattage could give you a rough idea of the brightness, but it wasn't absolute. Different producers, Philips, Westinghouse, GE, whatever, same wattage might have different brightnesses for their bulbs. Wattage is really a measure of how much power it takes for the bulb to produce the brightness that's expected of that particular product. This is measured in lumens. There's physics involved, and if you want to learn more, go ahead and study it. Lumens, L-U-M-E-N-S, right there on the screen. Each of your lights will produce a certain amount of light measured in lumens. What you also need to take into account is how far that light is from the subject. It's the inverse square principle. Again, you can learn more if you want, but a light that is placed twice as far away is going to produce 1/4 of the impact on your subject. You go twice the distance, it's 1/4 the light. The point to remember is distance impacts the amount of light that's hitting your subject. Now, the final thing is to know about color. Now, while visually we might think of red as warmer and blue as cooler, in physics it's actually the reverse of that. Colors of light from the red end of the spectrum have less energy, colors from the blue end have more. Your subject will reflect different wavelengths differently, and that's why photographing ancient manuscripts under different wavelengths of light will reveal different things about that manuscript. Again, that's something you can learn more about if you wish. Your video equipment will see and use different wavelengths differently. Just as your subject matter will reflect it differently, your camera will use it differently. I did a previous video comparing a no-name webcam to the Logitech C920, which is what I'm using today. The same lighting, but very different results. You can change your results by changing the color of the light that you use, even if your equipment is tending to skew that color in a different direction. Remember these basics: your sources, how bright is it, what color is it. And now we look at lighting your subject. Whether you're the subject or something else is, lighting your subject matters. And learning from professional photographers and how they get their awesome results, they will talk about lighting the subject from 3 directions. The first direction they call the key light, and it's the main light providing primary definition in your image. Recommendations are to place this light source at a 45-degree angle. Quick geometry, that means the same distance to the right or the left of your camera as the camera is from your subject. So, camera dead in front of me, light 45 degrees off that direction. Okay? Quick geometry. This distance is the same as the distance to the light. The second main light that photographers use is called a fill light, and it is placed at the opposite 45-degree angle. So if my key light is that direction, then my fill light is that direction. 45 degree each direction, so they form a 90 degree between them. Geometry. You can learn more about it. And the recommendation is that the fill light be half the intensity of the key light. Remember the basics. If you have 2 identical lights, then you can place the fill light at half again the distance. That will be about half the intensity. Okay? If you change the bulb in your second light source, you are likely to change the color from it as well as the intensity. So if you have a 700 lumen bulb in your key light and you try to go to a 350 lumen bulb in your fill light, you may be changing the color when you do that as well. Be aware of that. Finally, photographers recommend a backlight or a hair light, right back behind your subject. If you draw a line from the key light through your subject to the hair light, that should be a straight line. And the hair light should be the same intensity as your key light. Photographer's recommendations. The purpose of this light behind you is to soften your definition in relationship to your background. Mastering these lighting methods will dramatically impact the kind of image you are producing to put in front of the world. And I'm going to show you a little of that in a few moments. But there is more. We still need to consider lighting. Now we're going to talk about lighting your background, or in this case, a green screen. Maybe you painted the wall green. If so, I hope you used a matte or satin finish, not a gloss or semi-gloss. A highly reflective paint is not going to be ideal for your purposes. If you purchase even a cheap green screen, the reflective properties of it will tend to be more ideal. But you still need to be concerned about how you light it. Now, whether it's a matte finish or a gloss, your screen is going to reflect light. That is how we perceive light. The camera receives reflected light. That is interpreted as green. The eye receives reflected light. That is interpreted as green. Again, this is physics. You can learn more about it. Now, if your green screen is lit by a single focused light, it's going to have a bright hot spot where that light is reflected. That is not going to give you ideal results. You want the screen to have uniform lighting across it, or nearly so. At least all the usable surface or the surface area that you are using in your frame. Intensity matters here. The light on your green screen should be about half the intensity of the light on your subject. You want to make sure that that screen is lit as uniformly as possible. So, those are the 3 things to keep in mind. Lighting, the basics, lighting your subject, and lighting your green screen. So let's put this to work. For the purpose of the rest of this video, I'm going to make some assumptions. I'm assuming that you have an adequate camera. And to show you what I mean, I'm going to put to use this camera that I just got from Amazon. It's a $20, put it over here where you can see it. It's a $20 webcam. And right there you can see some of the issues involved in lighting. The box has gone transparent. Why? going to put this to work. But this camera is the one that I'm going to use instead of the C920, which is what I am now using. We'll use this, and the reason I'm doing this, I just got this for 20 bucks. And I want to show you that you don't have to go insane with expensive videography equipment in order to get decent results with your videography. Thanks to Lodo Tech. That's the person who clued me in to this one that I thought maybe I could investigate. I haven't even opened the box yet, so we'll see just what it is and how good it does. The next assumption that I'm going to make is that you have some lighting on hand, which you can use to light your subject. Maybe it's going to be a table lamp or 2 or 3. If you happen to have some other things like a ring light or soft boxes, go ahead and use them. But the point is to improve the image that you're presenting to the world without breaking the bank. Finally, I'm going to assume that you do have a green screen of some sort, whether you painted the wall or you picked up an inexpensive one someplace. The first thing you need to do is become skilled with manipulating your light. What do you have to work with? You can use, just as I said, a few table lamps or desk lamps or floor lamps if that's what you have. What I'm using for the purpose of the demonstration that will follow is these old shop lights that I've had since college days. And you can change the bulb in them to get different intensities, different colors. You can go with an LED bulb, a fluorescent bulb, an incandescent bulb. You could put it on a dimmer if you chose. Just make sure your bulb is dimmable. And in this case, I also have these reflectors. And they can be helpful too. It would be possible to put a pillowcase as a diffuser over the reflector. You can use the lighting that you have on hand in order to get decent lighting results. Again, as with the camera, I'm trying to help you get better results without breaking the bank. And you don't have to get a better camera to get better results. In fact, if you don't master what I'm going to show you in this video, you won't get better results no matter what camera you use. Lighting is key. So, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and get the new webcam set up. I'll unbox it and get it recognized by OBS. And when I come back, you'll see a one light setup, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've come back, and this is the new web camera, the $20 web camera that I mentioned. And just for comparison real quick, that is the C920 sitting right next to it. So same light, same setup. This is just quick and dirty, straight out of the box, and seeing what we can do. So that's just the key light, and as you can see, it is right up there, and produces some pretty harsh shadows on this side. And that's the reason that we want a fill light. Adding a fill light, now you can see what we have. And looking straight into the key light, now looking straight into the fill light, you see the different effect that adding this particular light has added. We will add the hair light next, so you can see the effect that it has. And again, if you draw a straight line from the key light through me to the hair light, that is a straight line. And so it's at the same angle behind me that the key light is in front of me. The fill light is 90 degrees off of that line, and so it's right up there. I don't have a perfect 45, but the 90 is very close. So, you can see what the lighting does. Gaining some skill with your lighting, even if it's just very basic lighting like what I was showing you. These are not my normal studio lights that I use for regularly recording. I'm just showing you what you can do with some very basic incandescent lighting. You don't have to get soft boxes and all of that, although if you want to, you certainly could. But you can work with your existing lighting, whatever you happen to have, and get better results than what maybe you're currently getting. Now, I'm going to add another light that I hadn't yet mentioned, and that is directly below and behind me, and it produces a kind of halo effect. Again, you see the lighting from behind, the hair light. You see the lighting from in front, the key light, the lighting from the side, the fill light, and now the light behind, putting some light on the background to give a little bit of a halo effect behind me. So, next thing to do is to light the green screen and make it go away. So with my regular studio lights on the green screen, you can see it, and you can see that there are some wrinkles, but they are soft wrinkles, and so they're not a major issue when we turn the Chromakey on. If the lighting on it were different, so that those wrinkles were accentuated, such as with long shadows at the end of the day, then it would be harder for the green screen, the Chromakey, to affect. And so what we'll do next is turn the Chromakey on. There we go. So what we've talked about are the basics. Understanding what lighting is, where it's coming from, how light and how intensity and how color affect you. Lighting your subject, lighting your green screen. The next step really is just gaining skill with the manipulation of your light sources and with the use of your software in order to get the best results you can. You don't have to have an expensive camera to get there. After you have gained all of your skills we've talked about so far, maybe you'll want to consider upgrading your lighting. Instead of just working with the basic lighting that you have available at home, whether it be lamps or shop lights like I have demonstrated here today, whatever it is, then you might want to consider upgrading your lighting, going to soft boxes, that kind of thing. There are some LED lights for videography that have various color filters, which can help with this process as well. I mentioned wavelength, the color of your light, and these filters can help. After you've mastered all of this that I have introduced to you and that I'm still working on myself, after mastering all of this, then you might consider upgrading your camera. As you see, I'm using right now a very inexpensive webcam, and it's giving reasonable results. Once you've mastered lighting, then you can get some good results no matter, almost no matter what camera you're using. Of course, if this is a hobby for you and you have an unlimited budget, then you be you. Figure out what you want, go ahead and burn the money. Who am I to tell you what you should or shouldn't do? But if you just want to get better results from what you already have, I hope this has been helpful. I'm Dave, GeezerGeek. This has been about using your lighting to best effect with OBS and a green screen. Hope it's been helpful.